Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Fahd Batayneh from ICANN. I'm glad I'm not in the midway between you and lunch because I believe there's another presentation after me. So I'll be talking about a new initiative at ICANN, pretty similar to Manners, but covers the domain name system, which is called KINDNS. So next slide, please. Okay. Okay, so KINDNS, or KINDNS, stands for Knowledge Sharing and Instantiating Norms for DNS and Naming Security. It's a new initiative that targets every operator that runs DNS infrastructure in trying to have them all implement best practices related to the domain name system. Operators can be small or large, it really doesn't matter. And it's usually read as KINDNS. There are a number of targeted operators. So we have the authoritative name server operators, and that involves top-level domain registries and second-level domain registries. We also have recursive resolver operators, and that includes the closed and private ones. And then we have the shared private ones, and of course the public ones. And whether it's an authoritative operator or a resolver operator, we will also the initiative also targets entities that help harden the core system. So these are the vendors that actually offer the operators their services and platforms. Whatever the category is, there are 6 to 8 practices that we encourage operators to implement. And if you are interested in learning more about these practices, you may want to go to the KINDNS website, which is kinddns.org. The idea of KINDNS or KINDNS is really to have this community, or the DNS operations community, act as goodwill ambassadors to the rest of the community. Now, going into specifics, and I'll try to be a little bit fast here just for the sake of time. Now, when we talk about authoritative DNS operators, we do encourage them to sign with DNSSEC. Transfer between authoritative servers must be limited. Zone file integrity must be controlled. Authoritative and recursive name servers must run on separate infrastructure. We must have a minimum of 2 name servers, and of course there must be diversity in terms of network infrastructure, software, and geography. And finally, the DNS infrastructure must be monitored through monitoring tools. When we talk about second-level domains, it's really the same, so I won't be repeating things here. In terms of closed and private resolvers, so to start with, maybe we may want to understand what closed or private resolvers are. These are the resolvers that are usually for within an organization. They are not publicly announced to the internet. And here we talk about DNSSEC validation, which is a must. Access control lists must be restricted. QName minimization. Authoritative and recursive name servers must operate on separate infrastructure. We must have 2 distinct servers in terms of recursion. Authoritative name servers must be diversified, and of course monitoring. Now when we go to the shared or private ones, so these are the ones that are offered by ISPs. So it's owned by an ISP in terms of operations, but their clients can actually resolve through these resolvers. So it's the same for the private networks, but the only addition here is really the addition of DNS encryption, whether DNS over TLS, DNS over HTTPS, or even the new DNS Quick. When we talk about hardening the core of the internet, these are really the platforms that the recursive resolvers and the authoritative name server operators operate on. They do have a different set of credentials. So things such as implementing BGP 038 or implementing manners, good, healthy credentials management, proper system configuration, utilizing tools such as Telnet and SSH to access systems, and so on and so forth. And again, I really won't dive deep into this. There is a self-assessment for this, for kindness. So operators are encouraged to do this self-assessment. The self-assessments are usually kept anonymous. We do publish regular reports on the results that we see. And of course, operators can participate in one or more of the different categories that I explained earlier. We do have a website, KINDNS.org, and we also have regular self-assessment reports that you can actually find on the website. In terms of selecting best practices, this is really not something that we do as ICANN. Again, this is an initiative that I should have probably mentioned that it's an initiative that is funded and managed by ICANN, but we do have an external consultant who's helping us on this. And all the best practices that are coming out are usually done by the community, whether through RFCs, through standards, one-on-one mailing list discussions, best practices that we are seeing when people are attending different DNS-related fora. Of course, we do have a mailing list, which is kindness-discuss. Anybody can join this mailing list, and there are really good discussions happening there, though the traffic is quite low, actually. Now, in terms of engaging with the community, again, as I mentioned, it's not something that ICANN is really kind of developing and just implementing. This is a project that we believe is from the community to the community. And now when it comes to selecting best practices, they really fall under three categories. There are things that are a must and that operators must really implement. So one thing, for example, is DNSSEC. The other category is where it's really not necessary to implement, at least at this point in time, either because it's too complex or simply because it's not widely used. One example of that is DNS Anycast. And the third are things that are still being debated and kind of relatively new. So when you talk about DNS encryption, these are really kind of relatively new, and not everybody is on the same page when it comes to DNS encryption. We are embarking on a number of things in the next phase of kindness. So one of the things that we are doing is we are developing an enrollment management tool where people can actually enroll into the program or into the initiative. We continue to engage with different